Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And for this week's episode, we have special guest from Pointless Reinvention. It's Mack.
Hello, it's me. And we're talking about the Power Rangers, the 1995 one, the infinitely better one.
So, Mac, what is your affiliation with this movie? Because I won't lie, I have seen fucking nothing about Power Rangers before.
In my memory, I was like, yeah, I really loved that film as a kid. And, oh boy, I don't know if I still do. But anyway, when I was a kid, I was really, properly obsessed with Power Rangers. I think even from an early age, I knew I was destined to be a very average human. And the fact that the Power Rangers were just kids who some guy was like, yeah, I need some superheroes, I guess you could do it. It was very appealing to me. I was like, that's the closest I'm ever going to get to being really cool, right? Is someone just being like, I guess you could be a superhero if you'd like. Which, I don't know, it just really appealed to me from an early age. And it's that thing of I have it now with cooking shows that I watch where I'm like, I know every episode's exactly the same, but it's like it ticks all the boxes I need to get endorphins into me. And every Power Rangers episode's the same. A big monster appears, they can't defeat it, and then they bring out big robots, and then they can defeat it, and that's it. And I was like, as a kid, that's all I needed. You know, there's nothing else to it, and I was like, oh, I'm happy enough.
I'm now imagining Great British Bake Off, but it's with fucking Power Rangers, and they all have to make mechs to make giant cakes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's a parody of the Power Rangers in Dexter's Laboratory where the Power Rangers are called the Flower Rangers, and all of their individual mechs form a big lawnmower and just cut the grass.
So what is the plot? I think you've already covered it with they can't kill it and then they turn into a giant robot and can kill it. But what is the plot of this film?
Well, it starts unnecessarily with two montages of extreme sports for some reason, without much dialogue in between it. And then a big egg is discovered, and the egg has a villain in it called Ivan Ooze, who, despite being locked in it for 6,000 years, seems to know every pop culture reference that's ever happened.
It's incredible. Ivan Ooze is the best character.
Oh, he's by far the best character, and also is definitely who they based Apocalypse in the X-Men films off. It looks identical.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
It is uncanny how much Oscar Isaac looks like Ivan Ooze. But anyway, Ivan Ooze appears and is just like, I'm very evil and I'm more powerful than everyone, despite the fact that his whole evil plan is you know that putty stuff you put your fingers in to make fart sounds? Just take that home and it'll turn everyone evil. His plan is genuine just to sell a toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's Ivan Ooze. What else is he gonna do? He has ooze as his main power.
Yeah, but then at one point he just spits on the floor and some awful bird creatures come out and kill everyone. And I'm like,
yeah,
why not just do that more? Why you've got the ability to create life? Why are you making this toy? Anyway, he essentially just comes back from this big egg and then kills Zordon, who is the person who runs the Power Rangers command center, really, and then destroys the power which the Power Rangers apparently have, which is never really spoke about in the show. At no point they're the power is a self-contained thing.
Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense. At no point do they explain how even without that they can somehow fucking teleport to different places.
Yeah. The whole it's honestly there's so little plot to this. They lose all their powers and then somehow a robot teleports them to a planet I've never heard of.
I thought they had enough power to get there, but not enough power to get back.
Yeah, which is again not really brought up either. They get there and then for some reason there's a woman in a children's film is wearing next to nothing for an unnecessarily long amount of time.
Yeah,
isn't it kind of slave layer bikini stuff? It's
in a children's film.
Yeah. Look, something's got to be in there for the parents.
Yeah, but I mean, she's not even really in it. She's in it for 3 minutes.
She
and
stands
then she turns
around.
into an owl.
Yeah, she waves some sticks about and she's off.
Yeah, she makes some whistling sounds and leaves.
She appears and has some sticks that, despite being evidently very good weapons, somehow are much better when you spin them and make a whistling sound from them, and then all the bad guys just left.
Yeah, the bird people don't like loud noises. That's it.
Yeah. Then the Power Rangers fight their way through a big jungle, defeating what I can only assume is 5 villains total, which takes no more than, it appears like a half-an-hour walk that apparently has killed thousands of other people. And they did very easily. and then just become new Power Rangers and are immediately able to teleport back to Earth and then fight
Yes.
Ivan Ooze. And I might add, beat him by hitting him in the balls, which
Yep.
is possibly the best way to ever end a superhero film, I might add.
1000%.
Yeah.
I also like that they get new animals.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you get new animals now. Why?
Yeah, that really threw me because I was like, are the animals that they normally are like an established thing? Like, is one of them always saber-toothed tiger, and is one
I
of them
think
always?
so.
So they are always, as far as I recall, Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, saber-toothed tiger, crane, and something else, which I'm sure is a mastodon.
I thought crane was one of the new ones.
Oh, pterodactyl,
Yeah.
sorry. Crane
Yeah.
is the new one,
Pterodactyl.
yeah.
Which-
Which is also funny because they're all based on dinosaurs, and two of them aren't dinosaurs.
Nope.
Yeah.
What I love about, particularly when they are still the dinosaurs, and that fight, there's like a fight scene at the very beginning of the film, and there's a point where, and this reminded me because you said pterodactyl, and that fucking she goes pterodactyl whip, and they always announce what they're about to do,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and she says pterodactyl whip. It's like what?
Yeah, famously a dinosaur with no tail.
A whip-like weapon.
Judd also is very good in that opening fight scene. Do you recall at one point the Blue Ranger and the Yellow Ranger are done fighting their individual bad guy and they're like, let's team up with everyone else, and for some reason they backflip their way to the middle of the fight.
There's
They
actually
backflip
quite a
a lot.
lot of gratuitous backflipping. It's clearly something the stuntman was comfortable doing.
No,
Yeah.
no, like that's all the actors. The
Right.
actors are all martial artists.
Yeah.
That's why they can't act.
Oh, that actually answers a few of my questions, I guess.
Like the actors are all like at
So
least.
they all do
basic
their own
martial artists.
stunts.
I think so. Yeah.
So in the show, like the TV show, the original, like when they're in suits and stuff, is actually based. Well, it's directly taken from the Japanese equivalent, and then they just dub it over. But all
Yeah.
all the acting where they don't have the costume done is done by those martial artists. But all the fight scenes are already pre-recorded by other people
Yeah.
in Japan.
So do you two know how? Because I watched a lot of Power Rangers when I was a kid. Do you, Dan? Do you know how Power Rangers is made? Because it's
Nope,
ridiculous.
This is that
It's-
is actually just really throwing me for a loop. So what they actually just
One of my
use the
favourite things.
footage from
Yeah.
Japan.
So there's an old 70s Japanese superhero show called Super Sentai. For some reason, the production company went, we're going to make that American by cutting out all of the conversational bits, re-recording all of them ourselves, and then cutting in all the monster fight scenes from Japan. For some reason, they made a show like that, and it was really successful. And then it moved over to like 3 different countries. But yeah, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the film that we watched, was the first thing where they didn't use any old footage. It was
Oh,
all
okay.
original, which is
So
a
there-
batshit way to make a TV show.
Yeah. If you watch like the TV show, as Mike's saying there, it's in the 70s, so that's why they pretty much just have like morph suits and helmets on.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, like the suits are like a bit more like
Argyle?
plasticky.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they're like actually armored as opposed to just being like you're wearing a morph suit and a helmet.
Yeah, the best part is they it meant that it's why the villain in the TV show never really turns up outside of fight scenes because it meant they didn't have to rebuild the suit.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
it's a absolutely insane show, and how it's like it's still going, which is
Yeah.
nuts.
So you grew up watching all Power Rangers stuff, or did you have like?
There's so much of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is there a favorite one?
So
Was the film like a real sweet spot for you, or is it more that
Well-
you liked Power Rangers and this was a film length version?
the film came out in like '95, but I don't think I probably watched it till I was like 7 or 8, so it would have been a few years after that. Like I think it was one of those things where it was like right at the point where it was not just acceptable, but like I was the target demographic to watch Power Rangers. You know, like I
Yeah.
was like the kid who had a little morph suit with a Tyrannosaurus helmet, like, and I'm sure the picture exists somewhere. Like, but yeah, like I had like a little costume. I had like all the Zords of the
I was going
Mighty
to say, did you
Morphins.
have the
Yeah.
Power Rangers toys?
Yeah, like, and what was very cool about them was you got the 5 individual ones, and you genuinely could put them together to make the one big one. But I then bought the white Tiger Zord, which is meant to combine with them, but obviously it was made after and it didn't work, and I genuinely cried for about 10 minutes when I couldn't see them all together.
Oh,
It's a very heartbreaking moment of my childhood. But yeah, I think I was just literally right at the perfect point, and then watching that film was like, it was crazy to me because it was like it's obviously not got high production values, but compared to the show, it was like this is like
It was
Power
next
Rangers
level.
on. Yeah, it's like Power Rangers on steroids. Like,
It was a bit mental, to be fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of special effects, and it does
Oh,
also,
it's
just go
incredible.
on and on.
Yeah. I'm a big fan that they went, is this in the special effects? They went, is this thing metal? Cool, it's made out of chrome.
Yeah.
Like it's the shiniest substance
Oh,
known to
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with those hot PS1
Yeah.
graphics.
For some reason, they went shiny.
I will say the CGI is infinitely better than, you know, like The Rock in like The Mummy 2. It looks like a PS1 character.
Yeah.
You've never seen it. Like it's still better than that, which I think is very funny for coming out like 7 years before that.
I'm a big fan. I like this film, and I will always like it because it's so campy and stupid. And Ivan Ooze is the ultimate camp villain.
Yeah.
He is pretty camp.
He's
And
like the
surrounded,
I also-
surrounded by the other camp villains, such as overdubbed lady and
Again,
a dog.
That's
Yeah.
another thing I'm looking at. Do you know how much of this film is ADR? Like they
Oh, so
overdub so
much.
much of it. It's because the actor. So Zordon isn't the voice of Zordon.
What?
The actor's voice is not the voice you hear. They overdubbed him with a different guy. They overdubbed the woman, the villain. They overdubbed her. They overdubbed, I think, a different villain. They do for some reason they went, none of these people are allowed voices. We're going to redub them after.
It's an insane film.
The mess of a film. I guess they're so used to doing so much post production that they just couldn't stop themselves.
Like, let's hire people with bad voices so that we can edit them out after.
It was incredible. It's incredibly bad film in the best way.
So it immediately opens up on a sort of yikes moment for me with pretty much one of the first spoken lines is, "Hey, all right, pinheads."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that sets the age tone.
Yep.
We are firmly in the 90s.
There's
I've
an awful lot of
I've
stuff.
just realised, like, why are those characters there? The two random punk guys that are on the plane with the Power Rangers, because they don't show up again after the first extreme sports montage of them skydiving.
They are in the bit where they're helping stop all the parents who walk into the
Oh
canyon.
right, okay.
Yeah, they're there in that, and then they're there at the obviously
Like,
they land.
I checked out at that point. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Yeah, well, so did I, to be fair, and I was like, why is there a clearly adult man following these kids around with a skateboard? And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's the guy from the start.
I
Yeah.
was very confused, even as a fan of this film, why a random child was like, everyone come with me, and everyone was like, all right.
I
Sure.
guess so,
I know
yeah.
we're at this big party, but this child has asked us to come with him, and I guess we will.
We're at this party based around random ooze.
Yeah. Those two characters that you're talking about are called Bulk and Skull, and they are like the most minor protagonists in the show, where they're like the Power Rangers bullies when they're not Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they essentially just like, well, they have to be in the film, even though like they're pretty much just there as like they're incidental to the plot, you know,
Yeah.
like they're not actually
Yeah.
doing it.
So
They were
can-
like their fan favorite characters as well.
Yeah.
Like for some reason the fans fucking loved them.
I'm pretty sure Bulk is still in the show currently.
Yeah, I think he's playing a different character. He's playing a Power Ranger now. I looked it up. He is one of the Power Rangers in like
What
the
a-
latest season.
What a true hero.
Right? Still in it.
So
Yeah.
it said something about how their identities are kept secret. So do people not know that they're the Power Rangers?
Yeah, everyone in that town wears matching clothes, where is color coded.
Yeah.
Everyone dresses with a very particular color.
It really does confuse me by the fact that in that town they're always wearing their colors, and
Yeah.
they're famously martial artists.
Yeah,
And always together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and no one is ever like, oh, those 5 heroes that always wear those famous colors that do martial arts are really cool. Not like these nerd kids over here they're always doing charitable events and raising money for good causes.
Yeah, they didn't come across. Are they normally seen as nerds or something in the TV show? Because in the film, they just sort of came across as.
They are
Yeah.
they are barely characters. Let's pretend at any point the Power Rangers are anything. The talking bits in the TV show Power Rangers is so they don't have to show the Japanese talking.
So, Tommy, who's the White Ranger,
Be real
and-
careful with
Yeah.
that.
Oop.
yeah, Tommy, who's the White Ranger, and Kimberly, who's the Pink Ranger, are the only ones who get any sort of extended dialogue. Everyone else is just quips, really,
Yeah.
Mm.
which is
Or telling us
insane.
what they're about to do and how they're going
Yeah.
to kick someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is insane because in every show, the Red Ranger is always the main one. Like the Red Ranger is
Yeah.
always like he's the person who leads the team, or like whoever there leads the team. And yet, for some reason, this film, Rocky is literally like barely even sentient.
Yeah, it's so much. The Red Ranger is always the leader. So much that there is a like feature length, just all of the Red Rangers special, where it's just the Red Rangers together. I don't know why they decided to go with the White Ranger.
Was he the stronger actor? They realized, oh
don't know
shit, we've
any of
actually got to
them.
do some scenes with these kids.
Yeah,
I
they
think,
have
I
from
think
start to end.
genuinely he is the best actor, but that's a damning.
We don't really
indictment
get
of
to
the shit.
experience anyone
Yeah.
else's acting, so
Yeah.
it's quite difficult to judge.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because the guy that plays Ivan Ooze is like a Shakespearean stage actor.
Yeah, he's the Reverend in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
which is crazy.
he's like an actual actor. It's amazing.
Ivan Ooze genuinely, like, if he wasn't in this film, it would be dog shit. And I
Although-
know it is dog shit, but I mean, I wouldn't like it if it wasn't for him. Like,
Yeah.
he has random moments that genuinely make me laugh. Like, not in a this is bad way, is it? Like, that's genuinely.
Yeah,
quite
oh yeah,
funny
like
shit.
his lines, he definitely had like the good lines, and it's a
The-
shame that it wasn't him delivering them.
Yeah.
But
The bit whenever he's destroying the command center and he's complaining to Zordon about all the things he's missed, and he's like, "You made me miss the Black Plague and the Dark Ages and the Brady Bunch Christmas special."
Reunion, yeah. The Brady Bunch reunion.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, how did you even know what the Brady Bunch were?
Yeah. Well, so I watched like an interview, like a 20, because it had been like 20 years since it came out, sort of thing. I watched that. Turns out the actor that played Ivan Ooze didn't know what the Brady Bunch was. He just said the line, so he legitimately had no idea because he's an old British guy.
it's the same. It's very much the same vibe as the genie in Aladdin,
Yeah.
like riffing, doing loads and loads of pop culture references when it makes absolutely no sense because they're supposed to have been cooped up for how many thousand years. But no, it's great. It gave him. It was just like there was just some sodding personality.
Yeah. It
in
was
someone.
actually some content. Which was nice.
It wasn't just kicking.
Yeah, like it's very sad that he is like the best part of the film, and yet he's also a villain. So you're spending the whole film being like, oh, I really hope that dastardly Ivan Ooze dies, but also if he does, this is going to be very dull.
The film gets very bad, very.
Yeah, I
suddenly.
was. To be fair, I was kind of rooting for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, 101. Like, I want Ivan Ooze to win. I want Ivan Ooze to come back. Like, if he came back a couple years ago, he would have made so much money. He would have made bank because Slime was
Yeah, I was
massive.
going to say
Yeah.
this film really, predicts the
It's
slime
ahead of,
invasion.
it was ahead of its time.
Because
I will
that
go-
kids putty, the fart slime was always a thing, wasn't it? But it just
Yeah.
really took off.
Like 5 years
What was it,
ago.
5 years ago? Yeah.
I mean, Power Rangers essentially is just a toy advert. Like that's all it ever
Oh, yeah.
was.
Yeah,
So
1000%.
like, all it was doing was just preempting that. It was just advertising something well in advance.
Yeah.
They were ready.
It's probably why they named all of their weapons. Like, it's why they kept announcing their weapons so they could sell
Yeah,
them later.
It's an advert, and
Yeah.
it's
amazing.
my mum. Like, one of the reasons that I have absolutely no idea about Power Rangers outside of what the very loose concept was, my mum was vehemently against Power Rangers growing up. Really had a bee in her bonnet about them. To the point where it was actually, she expressly told parents when she worked at a nursery not to let children watch Power Rangers
Why?
That's really
because
odd.
all the kids were kicking the shit out of each other.
In all fairness, I was gonna be like, that seems a bit extreme, but I did spend a lot of time fighting my brothers.
I mean, to be fair, a shocking amount of like Power Ranger actors killed people, which is
I mean,
true.
the fact that one has alone is a shocking
Yeah.
amount.
Like 4 of them have.
Fucking hell, this is a tangent. Right.
Okay,
Let's
That-
go.
yeah,
let's go
that's
into
weird.
this.
No, like it's true. One of the because they keep it every time it happens, they announce like a newspaper says actor's name was in the from the Power Rangers has killed people. It's happened a lot, and every time people go, but what color?
Yeah, 'cause no one ever
Was
knows who it is.
Was it the White Power Ranger?
I don't
Hey,
think a white Power Rangers ever
Do you
killed
find it
anyone.
funny that do you think they specifically made the point of just saying like Red
The
Ranger,
what?
except like they never put Power Ranger in whenever they're individually
Yeah.
talking to someone
No.
for that exact reason?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And almost certainly in the first season, at some point, someone said, "Oh, you're the White Power Ranger," and then everyone went, "Oh,
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, no.
That sounds very wrong with him. Or they watched the Japanese show and went, "We can't do the white one. We can't."
It's a very, very odd thing to just choose that you're going to base everyone's personality around colors. Whatever you've given that as the name, like.
Yeah.
Well,
well,
it's a toy. thing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is
Because,
exactly that. Yeah.
yeah, everything's branded, everything's specific.
They just
You've
need to use
got-
the same mold for everything and change the color they whack in there, so it's fine.
Well,
I think that was
that's
it.
why
I
I was
genuinely
in-
think that was it.
Well, what I was thinking about was actually if they screwed themselves over in the well, unless they brought out particularly vague headpieces for these models, was that each Power Ranger has like their own custom helmet with bits on. So I was like, oh well, yeah, that's extra molding.
No, change same body, change the head.
Oh, true.
That's it.
Yeah.
You just change the head, and maybe stick on a different symbol on
Yeah.
the
Just
side.
different picture of an animal. There we go.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. Oh, I did feel sorry for the one that ends up being a toad.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
like that his reaction was
frog.
also, "I'm a fucking toad."
Yeah, which is also very funny because all it takes for him to be happy again is for half naked woman to say, "Why are you so sad, Adam?" And he said, "I'm a frog," and she said, "Like one that's kissed and turns into a prince," and then he's so happy. He's like,
I mean,
he's like,
the
"Oh
teenage
yeah,
boy
that's
that
right."
just
Yeah.
teenage boy that's kissed by a girl in a bikini, like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna be pretty happy.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the last thing he does.
yeah, it'd be a bit weird if his robot frog at the end just like turned into a guy.
I mean,
Oh, fuck.
technically it
I
does.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
because he got kissed by, I guess, Ivan Ooze.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the frog mech was definitely the biggest stretch, and not just the tongue length, but just as like a good war animatronic.
There you go with Frog first.
The two weird things I noticed with the Mack fight at the end was that like all the Macks fly in, right? Like I didn't imagine that. Like they all fly into the fight,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And yet, whenever the frog does the thing where it like wraps its tongue around the guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm struggling to stand here," I'm like, "Why are you not just flying? I know you can fly. Like you're struggling to stay still, just fly in the air and like lift him. What are you doing?" And then,
No.
the other thing I found weird was, did you notice the yellow Zord was blue the whole time? Like there's two blue Zords constantly. And I looked it up afterwards, and apparently what happened was they made the wolf Zord, and it looked too much like a bear, so they just kept that as the bear Zord, and they just made a second blue, and they made a second wolf one. They're like, "Well, I've already made this piece of shit, so just keep it in."
Wait, so is Zord's what you call the animal?
Yeah,
Tank-
Yeah, the
sorry,
big
yeah,
robot, the
Max,
big
yeah.
robots of
Okay,
Zord.
cool.
Because then they all come together and become the Megazord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Branding.
Branding, and it was in the Japanese TV show, so they've got to use it somehow.
I think it was also in the Star Wars-esque introduction that you get at the start of the film. I assume for people like me who haven't watched any of the TV shows.
Right, there is so little introduction. Like that, I do not understand how anyone who could watch this not having seen the show and have a fucking clue what's happening. Like it is just there's so much like assumed knowledge in this movie. It is insane.
Because you can tell because they spend a good amount of this movie not being Power Rangers. Like they don't have the suits. The majority of the time, they're just pissing about in like shorts and a vest. Like,
Yeah.
It's not the most 90s outfits you've ever seen.
Oh,
Oh
Like,
my
everyone's in shorts, a denim jacket, a cut off denim jacket, and a t-shirt with the color of their Power Ranger.
And
Like it's nuts.
boots. And
Yeah.
the actors, again, watched like the reunion thing. Actors fucking hated the costumes because they were all like, "Oh, that looks cool. It's like denim and boots," and then they realize they have to do flips and kick
Oh,
and jump.
right.
It's so heavy. Oh man, yeah. No, the film is fucked for them. They hated it and loved it because
I quite like the outfits. I mean, it was just so silly, wasn't it? Because they didn't try and subtly incorporate the characters' colors into the outfits. It was like, right, you're gonna wear a normal outfit and a weird blue gilet.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a hangover from the show, as in like you're supposed, because they couldn't have them ever taking off the helmet
Yeah.
because they were Japanese people underneath the helmets, that you had to be able to recognize which person was what ranger, so they had to be color coded.
I have just remembered something crazy. I watched one of the new seasons about 3 years ago, just not like a new season, just one episode, just because I was off work one day and it happened to be on TV, and I was like, I'll just see what the Power Rangers are up to now. And there was a whole episode that was the Power Rangers flicking through TV, and they discovered the Japanese show, and they watched a full episode of the Japanese show. So the whole episode was the Power Rangers just watched an incidental television show about them.
The
That's amazing.
cheapest episode of Power Rangers ever.
Yeah, so like they just had dubbed over the Japanese show, and then occasionally it cut back to just everyone going like, and like shockingly looking at each other, like, "Whoa, this is like our lives. Let's see what happens next." And they just hit play again, and it just
Oh my god. They ran out of budget for that episode.
yeah, almost certainly they're like, "We need 16 episodes." And like, "Oh fuck, we filmed 15. Let's just everyone just sit on the couch. It'll be all right."
We have all
Goggle
these
box is
archive
big right
footage.
now. Fuck it,
Yeah.
let's go.
We have all this archive footage that we've got for free. Use it.
I also find very funny the bit whenever like they all go in and Zordon's lying in his weird crystal bed.
Yeah.
Where for some reason his voice is just a different guy. Like
Yeah.
they don't even try to make it sound the same. Like at the start he's like, Rangers, I need you to, and then he becomes a British man.
Yeah.
Yeah. They stopped dubbing him over. That's why.
Yeah, but it's like they don't even try. It's not even like there's a subtle information. It's like, oh, you sound different, Zordon. He's like, yeah, well, I'm not
Not
in the big
dying.
shoot. Yeah.
I'm not on the TV screen anymore.
It's just there's so
Awful.
much of it is just a huge jump in logic where you're just like, I'm assuming Alpha's probably fixed it. The robot probably did it.
Yeah.
A huge jump
I
in
did-
logic. Do you mean like the fact that at the end they kill the main villain by putting him in the path of a comet and he
Yep.
gets hit by... They go to space and they put Ivan Ooze in the path of a comet and he gets hit by a comet which stops all the adults wanting to commit mass suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they put him into a comet by kneeing him in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
the
thought
Yellow
the
Ranger
kids,
does it.
I thought the kids got the parents. They cleaned the ooze off them, and that's how they.
I guess it's a
The-
mix. I don't know.
I don't-
They're
I
using
think-
the fire
I don't
truck
think-
hose for some reason.
I don't think the people even making the film knew.
No.
They're like, "Oh, let the audience work this one out."
They're just like, and they're fine now.
This
They're
is someone.
fine.
This is
I
someone
mean,
else's problem.
If this film ended with a bunch of people jumping off a cliff, it'd be very fucking
Shit
different.
ton of parental
You
suicide.
know, that is a really like full on moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Ivan Ooze is just like, I'm done with you now. Just go kill yourselves. And like, it's pretty much just that. Like,
Luckily, they go to the one set they have of the
Yeah.
construction
Yeah.
site.
Then he also, I thought it was very good that in order to do the knee to the balls at the end, Kimberly had to like enter a whole load of code and hit an emergency button.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a very special button. It's like, quickly hit the punch them in the balls button.
Well, and also the best part is she kind of goes, "Fuck this! I'm kneeing him in the balls," because she's never instructed to. She's just like, "I've got this."
Yeah.
She's like, "I know."
And the fact that it's behind like glass, you have to break. Like, this
Yeah.
is some sort of like mystical move we could never do in case it backfires.
She's
I'm
been
surprised she
waiting to
doesn't
use
go
it.
like go Power Ranger nut kicker.
I think she
honestly.
said something like that, and it got dubbed out. They did not use that one.
I genuinely checked beforehand because I was curious, and Kimberly does of the Power Rangers have the second most dialogue, but nearly all of her dialogue is, "Oh no, Zordon's dying. I miss Zordon." And then at one point she says, "You don't know who you're messing with. We're the Power Rangers." And Ivan Ooze says, "Oh, let me get my autograph book."
It's so good.
I do like the it smells like
It
teenagers.
smells like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very on the
Yeah.
nose for when it came out.
Yeah.
Height
I
of
would
Nirvana.
I would guarantee they probably tried to get Smells Like Teen Spirit and just couldn't afford it.
No.
Almost certainly for that. There's no way that line is so clearly leading up to that part in the 90s. And then they were like, "Oh, we can't afford it."
Oh, sorry, shit.
Yeah,
Can't,
they
can't
just
afford
got they
Nirvana.
got a cease and desist from
Yeah.
Nirvana's lawyers.
Yeah.
What a film.
Oh yeah, like that's the only response to it. It is a mess of a movie, but I love it. I love it so much.
It's-
I was impressed with I don't know if impressed is the costumes, like the non CGI special effects.
Mm.
They were pretty fun.
Yeah, they were pretty cool.
I quite liked. Was it like a pig with a monocle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pigman.
you know, I still don't know his name, and I've watched Power Rangers for like 20 years, and I have not a clue what he's
Yep.
called.
Yeah, I like the baddie. I mean, I think because the Power Rangers themselves are so goddamn boring.
Yeah.
I really like the villains in this. I thought because they actually had a shred of like personality and interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the villains have always been like the villains of Power Rangers have always been what is good about Power Rangers
I'm
because they're just obscenely camp.
I
was
just
pretty-
had to look up the name of the pig one. Apparently, he's called Mordant. He was a warthog henchman in this movie. I think that's the only time he shows up ever. Yeah.
I think the villain design is infinitely more interesting than anything else in the film.
Yeah,
Well, because it's not a motorcyclist.
But I mean, like Mordaunt, or if that is his name, like a warthog with a monocle is like at least it's something interesting.
Yeah.
Goldar.
I had a lot of questions like, why does this space person need a monocle?
Bad
Like,
eyesight.
they've got, yeah.
But
got
then,
one
like,
lazy eye.
Yeah.
even like Goldar is just a big flying sphinx man, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's just a big gold man. Like that's cool. Lord Zed is inside out and has a crown that says Zed on it. Like he's got
Yeah.
something going on.
Yeah, his exposed brain was. I was like, that seems like a real weak spot. That
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a good idea.
How have the Power Rangers never killed him? Surely that's so easy.
And you have the woman with the most interesting voice you'll ever hear.
The most dubbed over voice I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Rita Repulsa. What a
yeah,
hero.
Rita Repulsa.
I did enjoy some of like the fight scenes, especially like the destroying not the bird people, but the one at the start. You know,
Yeah.
the ones that they can't defeat without their powers, so they become Power Rangers.
Oh, the big
About,
They
slimy
about 10
purple.
minutes into the fight when
Yeah.
they become Power Rangers.
I
The
was like, oh, that makes sense.
the ooze men.
And the weird bit with he's got like a fuck off massive sword,
Yeah.
white
Yeah.
sword, and then he uses it to fire a laser out the handle to
Yep.
crush them with a
I love
skip.
that. I love that so much.
And I was like, they're just trying to keep us guessing.
You know that that sword also doubles as a flute. Like genuinely, to summon his big sword in the show, he turns it sideways and plays it like a flute. And then his sword appears.
Helena, as a flute player, how difficult would it be to play a sword?
I guess it depends on what's
Depends on
Maybe
which
it was-
bits have to go on your lips, I guess.
Maybe
It's
it
like,
was an ocarina. Perhaps it was an ocarina, and I'm misspeaking. But it certainly was a wind instrument.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
clarinet.
I'll duct tape a bread knife to my flute and get back to you.
And a laser.
Yeah.
And
In
a
all fairness,
laser.
oh, actually, I've just realized he's wearing a helmet the whole time.
Yep.
That alone prohibits you from playing.
That just gave me like flashbacks to the design of one era of Power Ranger where they gave the Power Rangers lips. In
Oh,
the-
yeah.
Do you
Yeah, I remember
remember that? I just got
Yeah,
like a visceral memory of these
Well,
like
in some of the
huge
shots,
lips.
they have lips on their masks in
Yeah,
this
but
film.
it's kind of like a weird indent, right? Where it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
as prevalent. But in one of the shows, it's like they have just like their mask is like a 3D printed face that is painted over.
All right.
So they
Yeah.
have like facial features on their mask, which seems insane.
I swear there's also one where it's also like the black like glass with just silver lips. I swear I remember that as well.
Pretty spooky.
It was such a weird choice.
See, I thought at first that they'd actually just put face paint on and like silvered up like the bottom third of their face.
Yeah.
No, that would be weird.
That'd be.
Do you think if you'd watched this as a kid, you'd have had any interest in it?
Yeah, and I probably would have then started kicking everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That might
learn to
be
do
why. I might have
backflips.
maybe watched an episode, gone home, kicked my mother, and then she'd been like, right,
No more
this is
of it.
not happening.
You called her Rita Repulsa and kicked her.
But no, what did I watch as a kid? I watched lots of other standard stuff, like obviously Scooby Doo was a big one we've talked about quite a bit.
No fighting.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that one my mum liked, and it had girls in it and all that sort of thing. But
Power Rangers
Oh.
has girls.
The barely, they're
yeah,
not even
but
really
girls that
sentient.
kick, which is apparently just so unacceptable.
They're
But
not-
yeah,
they're- but
Power
the girls
Rangers-
aren't even sentient in Power Rangers. Like no one is sentient bar whoever is the leader of the team and Zordon. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Everyone else is just a drone that follows instructions perfectly.
To be fair, mid-90s, that's a big step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps because that's also the plot of most Power Rangers by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I remember not being allowed to watch it and almost not being ostracized. Like that's way too extreme, but just obviously not being able to be included in those sorts of like people discussing it
Yeah.
as much as whatever like 7-year-olds discuss Power Rangers. But
Did you see that
Um,
fight scene where they turned into the big Zordon at the end and fought the other guy? Yes, it was great.
but yeah, I guess what I'm realizing now is actually I've missed out on a lot of Power Rangers references in various stuff I've seen. Like I watched an episode of Rick and Morty the other day where they all their spaceships join up into one big spaceship and then they just kill the monster that way, and I'm like, oh, that was a Power Rangers reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I having seen this don't feel like I missed out on a great deal.
I mean, you've pretty much seen it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
Like,
seen it.
You've seen it now. Like that's it. If you ever want to watch the movie again, you can just Google an episode and it'll be pretty much
It's the same
it'll
thing.
be
Well,
fine. Yeah.
You can't because this movie is not canon. It is
Oh, yeah,
100%
that's true.
not canon because it was made by a different company. So the original company just ignored it. Just ignored it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that I didn't like Power Rangers as a kid was because there was this other kid I knew that was just a right little shit, and he really liked Power Rangers, and I was like, well,
yeah,
I'm
that'll
not
put you
liking
off.
Power
Yeah,
Rangers.
put you
then."
Yeah.
The kid in our primary school who wasn't allowed to watch Power Rangers was actually the bully. He was like, all you nerds watching Power Rangers, I was at home watching football. And I was like, all right, cool.
Good for you.
Well, me and everyone else in the class are going to talk about Power Rangers like cool kids.
And what,
We're all going to form together into one big giant.
When he tries to bully them, they just all hold hands and kick him.
I'm going to put Mark on my shoulders and I'm going to hold 2 other kids in my arms and we're going to beat you up.
I'm starting to see why my mum and like the other staff at the preschool were like pretty anti Power Rangers.
I have a really clear memory of being in primary school and 2 of my friends and me being like, let's play Power Rangers. But we were like adamant that we needed to have 2 girls because the Power Rangers always 3 boys and 2 girls, and no girls would play with us. And my friend Mark started crying because he was like, we can't be the Power Rangers without a pink and a yellow ranger. And I was like, I mean, we're just imagining it, right? We're imagining the bad guys. We don't need to go and find bad guys, Mark. It's fine.
This is Power Rangers' feminist impact that it had on the world.
Yeah, no, fair play
very
to him.
cute, a bit of inclusivity there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play. He wanted a diverse cast in our role playing game. So fair play to him.
Oh god, they'd be so happy. The cast would be so happy that kid did that.
That is
Oh, dear.
genuinely quite adorable.
Yeah, that's quite cute.
I'm just a really confused teacher. Like, why is he crying? Because
He's crying because no girls want to play Power Rangers.
like, and you need girls to play Power Rangers. Yes,
They're an integral part of the story.
Well, they're not, but they have to be there.
I do remember everyone wanted to be the Red Ranger, and this was before. So in the show, the White Ranger was originally a Green Ranger and then changed white, which is a baffling choice.
Hey, thank God he wasn't originally like the Black Ranger.
Yeah. Well,
there is a Black Ranger. Isn't
yeah.
there?
Do you know in the original series, the Black Ranger and the Yellow Ranger were in fact a black person and an Asian person.
Yeah.
And then they literally, whenever they left, they got 2 new people who were also of Asian descent and black and just swapped them. Because they were like, oh, we don't want everyone to think we're like discriminating, so they just give them the opposite one. And I'm like, it seems like you are now because now you've made a whole big point about it. It seems kind of strange that you have done this. But no, I remember everyone was arguing over who got to be the Red Ranger in this weird game we were playing. And I eventually was like, well, what I'll do is I'll let someone else be the Red Ranger and I'll make a new Green Ranger. So I was the Stegosaurus Ranger. But then Mark was upset because that wasn't in the show.
It's not canon. We can't play if it's not canon.
Mark was so strict with the canon.
He's a wee shit now. Mark, if you're listening to this, I no longer consider you a friend. I looked into the camera there, but I realized that's not going to be on.
I mean, I guess with that, out of 10, how many friends have you lost who no longer like the Power Rangers?
I don't know how I would ever rate this film because I as a film, it's a 2. Like,
Yeah.
And like that, the one it gets above 1 is Ivan Ooze, and then the fact that there's some part of my ape brain just likes watching people do flips and martial arts, right? But how would I put this? If I was like sick and I had to just lie in bed all day, this is the kind of film I'd watch because I don't have to think. It's just like, you know exactly what you're getting. It's like all the endorphins are going to come through my body and I'm not going to have to invest even remotely in this to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think it's an 8 on the comfort scale, but it's a terrible film. It's a terrible.
I like that comfort scale. Actually, that's
Yeah.
a good way of putting it. I actually did watch this film early in bed today, and I think maybe it benefited from my weakened state.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the energy
That's
to
how
really.
it gets you. That's how it gets you.
You have to be either poorly or 7.
I tried to take notes of the stuff I want to talk about this, and every note I took was like, what's this? How does this make sense? So I think if I thought about this as an actual film, I would never enjoy it. So I can't ever really commit to watching it properly. I have to only watch it knowing it's shit.
Yeah.
It's the best way.
I'm gonna give it 4 ninjetti corkscrew kicks out of
That was the most fucking insane bit of the movie. It didn't like. It looked like some. Have you guys seen Kung Pao? Like,
Yeah.
like it just. I thought of was that when I saw that scene.
Yeah.
That whole fight scene is fucking insane. It
Right.
makes no sense. That spinning kick is so funny. And the fact that the Blue Ranger just has a grappling hook that is the slowest grappling hook in the world. Like, it is...
The amount of quips as well. Like every time they move, they say something.
It was that fight scene. Like I just had to let that all wash over me, but I did. Yeah, Ninjetti. I guess cultural appropriation. But I'd say it's not really cultural appropriation, or it is, but in a quite a pure form. In that is what Power Rangers for the Western audience always was.
Yeah.
That they literally took it from Japan and made it Western. But yeah, that corkscrew kit. But it was 4 for me. Seen worse. It didn't have enough sort of redeeming features for me to be like, oh wow, what a hidden gem.
So what you're saying is Ivan Ooze wasn't in it just enough.
It should have been Ivan Ooze the movie.
I'd watch
Honestly,
that.
if
Honestly.
he'd won, that would have been
100%.
pretty cool.
I'd watch Ivan Ooze the movie. What a great idea.
Or like his origin story or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
why did
Ivan
he end up in an egg just under, like not too far under New York City, just under a construction area?
Why is he in an egg is just brilliant because it doesn't make any sense.
An
The
egg
fact
with
that-
like a hand around it as
Yeah.
well.
That is something that makes me laugh so much. The fact that like we're gonna bury him away for 6,000 years, 10 meters underground, somewhere no one will ever find him. A very
Central New
inconvenient,
York.
an inconvenient place to look.
At least they hadn't built New York at that point. Like,
It's in a town called Angel Grove. To
oh
be
yeah,
clear,
it's
but
not New York. Yeah.
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 But it is.
Yeah, I guess
it's very
just
clearly New
somewhere.
York.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the States. So
Yeah.
I count this film as a perfect 5. Not because it's mediocre, because it is both amazing and terrible. They balance each other out so perfectly that it is a perfect 5.
Oh,
It's a perfect medium.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I didn't really have that much nostalgia or anything for it. It just was just on. So
Yeah.
like
That's the most this film does is it
Yeah.
is on.
I think I'm going to give this film 3 sports montages in a row out of
Yeah.
10.
yeah, that was this film, wasn't it?
Yeah, where it starts with skydiving and then they immediately start like rollerblading or some shit after. But no,
Yeah.
that was the one thing Mack told me before we watched this film. He was like, this film starts with 2 sports montages immediately one after the other. I was like, okay. Cool.
There is like 4 lines of dialogue between them.
It's the first like 15 minutes or so. Like,
It's so long.
And like the best part is that it has nothing to do. The TV shows aren't like that. The TV shows just aren't like that.
It was a very long way of saying, oh, by the way, there's a comet. And it was so long that I forgot about the
Yep.
comet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very funny to do foreshadowing in the first 30 seconds of the film and then not bring it up again at all.
The vaguest foreshadowing.
Hey, you guys excited to see the comet tomorrow? Everyone's like, yeah, Tommy, sounds good. Anyway, let's not talk about it for another hour.
Oh, I hope we get off this weird jungle planet. I want to see the comet.
A comet, you say? And then they all just like look to the corner of the screen.
Yellow Ranger's like I have an idea.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
god.
I guess with that, I have been Dan.
I have been Michael.
I've been Helena.
Oh, and I'm Mack.
Mack, where can people find you?
I am most notably on the podcast Pointless Reinvention, where we fix what isn't broken. And by fix what isn't broken, I mean make it a horrible nightmare version of what already exists. It's pretty funny, I guess. Probably a lot of it's quite cursed. So just go into it knowing what you're listening to, I would say. And I'm also on Twitch quite a lot at the Macaroni Prince. And recently I've started playing a game called Frog Detective. And because I was playing it, I've promised to solve every crime that has ever happened. And I'm working on who shot JFK, but I've not made it far.
Wow.
Do you only have the powers of the frog? Specifically, a giant frog mech.
Yeah, I am the Frog Ranger. I'm the prince. I'm the Macaroni Prince. It's true.
Exactly.
It all comes back around. But
It
yeah,
was meant to be.
the Macaroni Prince on Twitch and Twitter, and the Pointless Reinvention Twitter and Instagram is PLR_pod. If people want to see what nonsense we're talking.
Awesome. And you can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We've just started a Discord as well. If you want to go in there and tell us shit about Power Rangers, I guess there'll be a link in the link tree.
Yeah, we can all talk about films that we hate
Yeah. You can
or love just so much.
Yeah, come on there and maybe suggest a movie. We'll add it to our insane list and maybe get round to it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Can I leave everyone with a very scary last note?
Oh, hell yeah, let's go for
I
it.
mean, it's not going to be. Yeah, no, to be fair.
Is it how many people have actually been murdered by the Power
No.
Rangers?
No, there is a second Power Rangers film in the 90s, and I plan to come back and do it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
1000%. Is that another Mighty Morphin Power Ranger? Or is that a different group
It
of
is,
Power
yeah.
Rangers? Oh,
It's-
man.
Yeah, it's the same people.
Oh, so it's a different Power Rangers, not Morph.
I know, they all
They-
morph, they just have different... Sorry, this is a bad way to end the episode, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, it's great. At one point, they're just straight up ninjas. They are the Ninja Power Rangers.
Okay.
They ran out of ideas.
Yeah, I guess we'll see which ideas they've ran out of next time.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. It's a Power Rangers. That's not
Yeah.
the theme.
They have like 20 themes, honestly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably close enough.
Yeah.
Is Go Power Rangers one of them?
That is the
Yeah.
original one, yes.
Oh, okay,
that is.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.